The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power in the creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We got ourselves a fine little program, viewers and listeners. Lots of great topics, lots of great people to talk to. Let's go ahead and bring out our co-host for tonight's festivities. Always makes me happy to be talking with Zach Sloan. How you doing, Zach?
I'm in Costa Rica, so I'm fantastic. How are you, Ryan?
You sure are in Costa Rica, which I think is something of a geographic milestone, a first time for the show. I don't think we've ever had a co-host log in from Central America before. What brings you to that neck of the woods? You must be having a blast.
I got some great family down here, and they have a spot, and they're like, "Hey, why don't you come out for a week?" So here I am, and I just was jealous, man. Like, I can't remember if it was last time I was on or the time before that. You were somewhere, Lauren was somewhere. I was just in Denver, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to up all of you. I'm going to Costa Rica.
That you definitely are upping us, without a doubt. I'm jealous. I've never been. I've heard it's an utter delight. I think my parents went there some years ago and had a grand old time. And kind of wish I could switch places with you right now. I'm not going to lie. But both you and me are in a pretty good position, though, because we both have the pleasure of interviewing our guest this week later in the show. We're going to be joined by singer-songwriter Ryan Wright. And before the show started, Zach, you were just going off on how much you enjoyed her music. You got to know her just from, checking out her out before the pre-show, and you were just digging her, right?
Yeah, when so the way I do my prep for the shows is I always listen to if we have an artist on, I always listen to their catalog as I'm doing some research about them. And I just had her on in the background, and I was enjoying it. I was like, man, I wonder if she's on tour. And sure enough, she's on tour. And on September 11th, she's gonna be playing in my neck of the wood, Denver. So if there's any BTB fans out there, September 11th at, forget the venue, the Skylark, I believe, Larimer Lounge. I forget. Check it. It's on Spotify. I'm going to be there. I hope you're there too. It's going to be a good show.
Oh, excited for that. And I'm just excited for the conversation. Love to hear some of the backstory on her music. Her story is pretty interesting in terms of her life kind of out of music and what brought her back into music. There's going to be a lot to kind of dig into there. It's going to be really, really fun. I've also been told she does impressions, so we might be mining that particular mineral for as much as we can get out of it. We're a sucker for impressions around here. But speaking of music that you like, Zach, I found a story in Billboard that I want to just quickly talk to you about because it's about a band that I know you and I mutually appreciate. Now, this summer has been kind of a disaster for the live performance industry. We've been hearing lots of stories of very big name artists who've had to either scale back or just flat out cancel their tours because fans just weren't coming out. They weren't buying tickets, right? We heard about the Black Keys having to cancel their arena tour due to lack of interest. Jennifer Lopez had to cancel her arena tour due to declining ticket sales. But Billboard had a pretty cool article that came out today, Zach, about one band in particular that, in spite of all of these headwinds in the live music industry, has been kicking butt, selling tickets, and has a huge tour planned. Do you know what band I'm talking about?
A band that we mutually like.
Yes. That we've done like segments on about how much we enjoy this band, even though, they've been around a while and some people like to make fun of them.
I mean, Taylor Swift, we talk about all the time, but that can't be it.
I think her tour is doing just fine, Zach. No one has ever said, oh, yeah, maybe Taylor's going to have some declining ticket sales. No. Zach, the band that I read about was Creed.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they're doing fine.
Yes. Billboard had this amazing article talking about how Even though all of these big name artists are canceling their tours, Creed doing just fine. I'm going to read from the article, quote, during a topsy-turvy year in the touring industry, with other arena tours being downgraded or canceled as the market readjusts following a post-pandemic boom, Creed's team expects most of the band's upcoming dates, including its first headlining show at New York's Madison Square Garden since 2000, set for November 29th, to sell out, and it's already eyeing opportunities for 2025. They are blowing this North American tour out of the water, and it could not make me happier for them. I loved this band growing up, and I feel like it's one of those things where secretly we all love Creed. America loves Creed, and they went through this 20-year stretch where we all had to pretend like we didn't love Creed because it was cool to hate on Creed, but in reality, we all think Creed is amazing, and I'm so glad they're back.
Dude, I feel like Creed and Nickelback suffered the same fate where somebody made a joke once and it just sort of caught on.
Yeah.
Like, are they Queen? No. I don't know if they ever wanted to be. They're a great rock band. Anybody who thinks doesn't realize Mark Tremonti is an incredible guitar player.
So good.
What is wrong with you? They're a great band. Good for them. And I'll tell you what, that rock from that era, it still moves. I read something not too long ago about Limp Bizkit doing really well. So, you know, they're selling some tickets. Good for them.
I love that. I love that, you know, some of these bands that, you know, had their run when we were kids are getting an opportunity to kind of pick themselves back up, have nice career again, because now we're all old enough that we have disposable income and we want to relive some of that nostalgia, and we're giving these bands another chance to have their day in the sun. And I love this for Creed. I love that they had that Super Bowl commercial where they were singing in the background while Patrick Stewart was throwing Hey Arnold into the side of a mountain for Paramount Plus. I mean, it's just, God, 2024 something, huh?
Yeah, it's fantastic. They're good. You know what? I never want to bash on any band because as a musician myself, you always hope for everyone to be successful, and
That's right.
that's fantastic.
I mean, maybe that's something about me that as I've gotten older, I find I don't hate any music anymore. Like I haven't said in years, I hate that song, I hate that artist. And, you know, some music's just not my cup of tea, but maybe it's just because I've worked with so many artists and worked with so many musicians, and I know how hard that struggle is, and I know how much of an act of courage it is to lay your soul out there, to write a song and put it in front of the world's unrelenting criticism, that even if I don't dig what you're making, I still admire your courage for doing it. And so I'm never going to hate on musicians anymore. And so like, I got nothing but love, and I got nothing but love for Creed. And I love that they're having this moment again. And like, even while other bands, even like bands that are big right now and are charting are having to cancel their tour dates, Creed is touring bigger than ever.
And you know what? All I can say about that is, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I know I just said I don't hate on any artist or hate on any music, but I have one song in particular, Zach, that is trying my patience a little bit.
This is not a song.
This is not a song. So you're saying I'm allowed to hate on this because it doesn't even qualify as music. I've been getting inundated with emails, Zach, from listeners on this show because they know I'm something of a copyright dork and a fair use dork when it comes to music. I actually wrote my law school note on fair use in music, where people have been sending me this video of a song by, who's the artist? Amber Rose and Forgiato Blow, that did a song for the Republican National Convention called Trump, Trump Baby, which is basically just Ice, Ice Baby, but they, you know, changed the words ice for Trump. And it's, you know, it's got the same beat behind it as Ice Ice Baby, the doon 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 doon.
Oh, you mean Under Pressure? Yeah,
which came from, of course, from Under Pressure, Queen, David Bowie. And so people have been, you know, basically I've been getting several versions of the same email from people saying, can they do this? Like, is this legal? Can they just use this song? And before I can even get to the legal side of it, I'm just like, you know, why does this song even exist in the first place? Because it's so difficult to listen to. But the answer is no. Like, copyright law should not allow this. Somehow, I mean, and I'm not going to play this song, not only because of the copyright issues involved, but because, like, I don't want to subject the viewers and listeners to it. It's not a particularly impressive piece of art, but what it does is, again, it's a like it's being called a parody of Ice Ice Baby, which it's not a parody. Like a parody means that you're changing the words of a song or changing a song to make fun of that song. They're not using it to make fun of Ice Ice Baby or using it to make fun of Under Pressure. I mean, they're unintentionally kind of making fun of the Republican Party, but that's not a parody. And there's no way that Queen and David Bowie's estate gave their permission to use the Under Pressure bass line in this Amber Rose Forgiato Blow song. And, you know, like that kind of stuff just bothers me. Like politicians do this, and both sides of the aisle, by the way. They will take other artists' songs, they make parodies of them, they change the words of them for campaign commercials, and they never clear the rights. And that, you know, that bothers me as a lawyer. Because they know they can probably get away with it because, like, you know, if you come out against the campaign for it, it just gives them more attention, which is what they want.
Well, it just bothers me as a musician.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, yeah, and I think your point is underscored by, like, when I think of parody, who's the best parody writer ever? Weird Al.
Weird Al.
Right? This is not Eat It. Right? This is not that level of genius. All right? This is Trump baby.
This is not Eat It. This is not Another One Rides the Bus. Like a Surgeon.
I should have gone with Another One Rides the Bus.
Another One Rides. But, you know, since we're going to use the Weird Al Yankovic example, right? The most acclaimed quote-unquote parodist of our time. Something y'all want to know about Weird Al Yankovic? You know what he always does? He always gets permission. Like, even though, like, maybe at least in the case of some of his songs, he might be able to say it's fair use because it's parody, even though it's not really usually parody. He always gets permission. Why? Because Weird Al's a cool dude. He's a righteous dude that respects artists, and he always gets the artist to sign off. And so if Weird Al can do it, if the ultimate parodist in music can do it, then the Republican National Committee can do it too.
And you know what else Weird Al does?
What else does Weird Al?
He always makes sure that the artists he's parodying get royalties, even though it is not always required.
Yeah,
and
Weird Al's the man. Weird Al. Here's speaking of my law school note that I wrote. Do you know Weird Al Yankovic actually autographed my law school note? Because I wrote my law school note about parodies and actually referenced Weird Al's album Alpocalypse, the 2012 album, in my law school note. And I sent it to him because I was like, hey, you know, I'm a big fan. You inspired this note that I wrote to graduate from law school, essentially my dissertation. It would mean a lot to me if you would sign this. And I mailed it to him, and like 3 weeks later, actually, can you like filibuster for like 15 seconds?
Oh yeah.
I'll be right back.
All right. So here's the thing that interests me about Weird Al specifically is there was at one point a beef between him and Coolio because he had done Amish Paradise, and Coolio it said he didn't like it, even though Weird Al had got permission and blah blah blah. But
and we're back.
Well, there we go. Never mind.
There it is. My law school note signed by none other than Weird Al Yankovic.
That's ridiculously cool.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, it's very like of all the things I did in law school, up to and including getting my law degree, that is the thing I'm most proud of for sure.
Of all the things I did in law school, including get my law degree, Ryan's autograph is the thing I'm most proud of too.
Well, what did you filibuster about for those 15 seconds out of curiosity?
I talked about the pretend beef between Coolio and Weird Al over Amish Paradise.
Oh yeah, I think that was actually the only time where he didn't get the permission, and because there was like some kind of weird situation there. The Weird Al Behind the Music is probably the best one for you behind the music fans out there.
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic mainly because like it's the only VH1 Behind the Music that didn't involve like the artist getting into hard drugs or drinking too much or having like affairs. Like it was like Weird Al's life as an artist is not the rock star life. He has a surprisingly tame life. All he did was just live like a clean, happy life and make some of the coolest songs that we all enjoy.
And, you know, I think my favorite part of that Behind the Music, for those of you who have never seen it Behind the Music, you need to watch them. They're dope. But it's when he starts crying because Napster came out and made him get the middle-sized jacuzzi. And then Napster took my money, and I had to get the medium-sized jacuzzi.
Oh man, see, we have a lot of stories to talk about this week, Zach, but I'm perfectly content with just making this a 1 hour love fest of Weird Al Yankovic.
We can't do that because we got an artist on the other side who I really want to talk to. So.
Well, I mean, we can make, all right, so half this, so we can dedicate the first half of the show to talking about how much we love Weird Al, and the second half of the show dedicated to how much we love Ryan Wright. I think that's a pretty good show. The satellite radio audience will enjoy that. Let's stay with copyright law here, Zach, because we might be on the precipice, speaking of copyright law, of what might be, in terms of overall impact on the music industry, in terms of dollars, the most important copyright litigation ever. If you're going to do it by in terms of what could be the total potential damages, this is the biggest lawsuit ever, and it's not even close. So we've talked on this show in the past, Zach, about the AI music platforms Suno and Udio. These are generative AI platforms that you can enter in some prompts, like tell it what kind of style of music you want, what kind of lyrics you want, and it'll generate some pretty cool looking songs. We've done some samples. We often use Suno to make like intro songs for our guests on Break the Business, and it's cute and delightful, and it's not nearly as good as what a human would create. But, if you need something in 0.3 of a second, Suno takes care of you. Now, it's not clear how Suno trains its AI. Like, Suno hasn't published that information, but it's pretty understood at this point that they are training their AI on actual music from actual musicians, on copyrighted work. And so there's now a lawsuit where a bunch of artists are like, hey, we didn't give you our permission for you to use our copyrighted music to train your AI platforms, Suno and Udio. And so we're going to file a lawsuit. And now the reason why I say this could be the biggest copyright lawsuit ever is the potential damages are incalculable. I mean, statutory damages for copyright infringement, Zach, can be as high as $150,000 per act of infringement. So $150,000 times millions of songs, hundreds of thousands of songs. Like, I mean, could you have a judgment for like infinity dollars? Because that's what this one's going to be if it comes down the right way. And it's pretty wild.
So I have a question for you about this, Ryan, because I got had this question asked just today, actually. When we're talking about damages in this situation, is each individual stream an instance of copyright infringement?
I believe it's based on per work infringed.
Okay, per work infringed. Okay.
But again, like I'm guessing these platforms are probably trained on hundreds of thousands of songs.
Jeez.
I mean, it's incalculable, right? And Suno, assuming that they do use music to train their AI, because again, they haven't actually admitted this because they don't want to admit it, but assuming that they are, and I'm pretty sure they are, they're like most of these AI companies and like ChatGPT as well, they're taking sort of it's better to ask forgiveness than seek permission approach, right? If they were to have on the front end asked every music copyright holder, every record label, every major publishing company, hey, can we license your music to train our AI? They probably would have run into a bunch of roadblocks, right? The labels would have said, no, we don't want you to effectively train our replacement, or we'll do it, but you're going to have to give us lots and lots of money. We wouldn't have these platforms. And so they're basically saying, let's just do it. And if we get in trouble, we'll figure that out later. We'll have the lawyers sort it out. But now it's judgment time. And what I think ultimately, I think, Zach, the first part of this case is going to be the most important one, because in the first phase of all of this, what's going to happen is Suno and Udio, who have not filed their response yet to these lawsuits, is going to say something along the lines of, we're not admitting one way or another whether we use copyrighted music to train our AI. But even if we did, it's fair use. That's probably what they're going to argue some version of, but in a lot more pages than I just did. So our friend fair use is back again. And now the question is, does using copyrighted work to train a music AI like Suno constitute fair use or not? And the answer, in my legal opinion, with all of my experience and all of my, published writing signed by Weird Al Yankovic on fair use, is I have no idea. This one could go either way, and depending on how it goes, right? Something this big is going to go to before the Supreme Court, or at least a circuit court. And this fair use question is everything, because if the courts say this is fair use, then Suno and Udio and ChatGPT and all these generative AI platforms could have free reign, and there could be significant limitless use for generative AI. If these courts go the other way and say it's not fair use, oh my God, party's over. Now you're talking about astronomical damages, incalculable damages of all the copyrighted works that's used. I mean, could not be a more high stakes situation for the AI companies, and it's going to be wild.
Well, and I have a personal stake in this, Ryan, and I feel like that was a good time on Break the Business for me to talk about this. I've been planning to use Suno to model Drake and continue his Kendrick Lamar beef, but instead have Drake battling it out with Drake, because I think Kendrick clearly won. And if Suno goes away, my plans all will crash and burn.
Well, I could not think of a more compelling reason to want to keep Suno around.
I know.
Although Suno's tricky because you can't tell Suno that you want a song in the style of Drake. Suno does not let you use actual artist names. So you have to get really creative.
Just tell it that you really want a hip hop song about feelings, and that'll get you.
And Suno will know, okay, I know what you're talking about, brother. I got you.
Yeah.
So without getting too deep into the fair use doctrine, because I don't want to put the audience to sleep, there's two things that you really want to look for that the courts are going to really look at, I should say, when figuring out whether there's fair use. Is one, they're going to ask whether or not the using of copyrighted works to train AI is considered sufficiently transformative enough. In other words, are we endowing these these works with a new purpose that's different from the original purpose of those songs? And the second thing they're going to look at is, does this use take away business from these copyrighted works, right? Are these artists missing out on sales? Is it affecting the market for these original copyrighted works? And depending on how the courts kind of look at those two questions is really going to determine where they come down on fair use. I think the closest case we have that might give us at least a little bit of insight as to how courts might rule on this is the Authors Guild versus Google case from about 8 years ago, which was a fair use case in which a bunch of authors sued Google Books because Google Books has this feature where you can search the text of books, right? So Google took all these books, copied the text, and so you can search in a book any book, you can say, I'm looking for whether this book has, we just lost Zach, but I'm sure we'll get him back in a second. I'll continue to explain this case to the audience here. Google Books has this feature where you can search for in the text of a book and look for a particular paragraph, a particular sentence or things like that. And for Google Books to have that feature, they had to copy all of these books into Google's system. And so all of the copyright holders, all the authors said, that's copyright infringement. You're copying our books without the permission. And the Second Circuit in that case held that that is fair use. And so for the two reasons we talked about, one, they said that making these books searchable, welcome back, Zach, is considered transformative. And they said that making these books searchable didn't actually hurt the sales of these authors' books. And so that was considered fair use and Google didn't get into any trouble. And so maybe that case is similar enough to the generative AI case that the courts will hold similarly to the AI companies, but who knows?
The whole thing just stresses me out, Ryan.
Tell me why. What about it is it stressing you out as an artist because you're nervous about AI platforms? Is it stressing you out as as somebody who likes AI and so you're worried about this kind of hurting AI? Like, where are you coming down on this?
I love AI. But I don't ever worry about AI being hurt. What I worry about is muddying the waters such that it becomes difficult to tell if somebody wrote a song or not. And I worry in the future of actual artists being ripped off and it popping up somewhere else, and then it becomes almost impossible to get the proper credit to where it's due. I mean, if Tom Petty can get sued for plagiarizing himself, the idea that maybe it's going to be impossible to track where ideas and things came from because it's being generated by AI really bothers me. And also, I'm not in the business of putting musicians out of work. That's kind of where I fall on it as well.
Yeah.
So it stresses me out, and I don't trust our courts, to be perfectly frank, to do the right thing.
Oh, that's a perfectly reasonable fear. As a lawyer, I am always terrified when we have courts making huge decisions involving art and technology. I mean, first of all, because all of these judges are 10,000 years old. And the two things they know the least about are art and technology. And we're having them make these kind of decisions using 19th century copyright law to try to address 21st century issues. Yeah. It's going to be a mess, and it's going to be frightening. But this is absolutely going to the law is going to have to sort this out and many other questions that are being presented by AI when it comes to copyright law. And the courts have to tread carefully, depending on how the courts rule on issues like, does using copyrighted works to train AI, is that fair use? When you create a work with AI, how copyrightable is that work? How much human input is required? How much AI input can be in there? There's so many layers to this, and depending on how the courts rule could change the face of creativity, of art and commerce for generations to come. And there's 9 geriatric judges in Washington, D.C. that are going to figure this out. And I'm terrified.
You're stressing me out.
Well, lest you think that it's only the 9 geriatric judges on the court that are trying to sort this out, I also assure you there are 435 geriatric members of Congress and 100 geriatric senators who are also trying to sort it out. Because I bring us to the halls of Congress for the latest legislative response to this question. A group of senators and congresspeople have recently unleashed the Copied Act, which is the latest attempt by Congress to try to address this issue. Basically, what the Copied Act would do is enforce a watermarking system where, all creative work would have some kind of digital watermark in it. Don't ask me how that works. I don't have that kind of technological knowledge. But basically what it would do is it would have a watermarking system to prove when copyrighted works are used to train AI, and then it would further require AI platforms to get the permission of copyright holders before their works are used for AI. So whereas these lawsuits are trying to address the alleged infringements that have already happened, the Copied Act, which has been proposed in Congress, is saying, okay, going forward, regardless of what the courts say, going forward, you're going to have to start getting artists permission to train AI on their music. And if you don't get their permission, you're going to get in trouble. And, God, if you're scared of how the court is going to try to solve this problem, I'm equally scared of what Congress might do to solve this problem. Ugh.
Oh, well, I don't need to rant about Congress. So I think my Congress feelings have been well documented on this podcast. But yes, it stresses me. I think what stresses me about this is I don't really understand how you do the watermarking.
Neither.
As I've been reading the article that you shared on Digital Music News, I love the idea. I love the concept. I don't even know if this is completely possible.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're afraid of Congress actually passing this law, there's like a 1% chance. All these laws, Congress doesn't pass anything right now. Given everything that's going on in our government at this moment between the two candidates running for president and everything, I don't think they have time to pass major legislation. If they can't pass a law to fix the concert ticketing problem, you think they're going to get to and they can't pass a law to get artists paid when their music's played on the radio. I don't think they're going to get to this AI thing anytime soon. But the fact that it's in the pipeline now means it's going to be part of the conversation, which means it needs to be part of your conversation as well as artists. Before we go to break, Zach, I want to talk a little bit about just Suno and what it's meant for this show, because we have been scared of the AI overlord around here because it is getting increasingly powerful. We used to do AI segments as a joke, give a tip of the week using Orson Welles quotes or whatever. And then we started having the AI create songs, intro songs for our guests. And Whereas they started out pretty terrible. Some of them have become kind of bangers because the AI is getting pretty good. Certainly not as good as anything Zach Sloan could write, but a couple of these have been kind of bangers. With the time here before we go to break, I wanted to just take a little trip down memory lane and play some of our intro songs from prior guests we've had on. So we had Mama B on a few weeks ago. She was a children's music artist, and we had Suno write a children's music song to introduce our guest, and it came out really cute. That was actually the wrong one, but that's fine. That was actually for Ben and John, the executives from volume.com, the live streaming service. But that was a good one too. This one should be the song that we played for talent agent Jack Foreman.
Jack Foreman's coming onto our show, ready to share with us all that he knows. He's a booking agent, getting an artist the gigs, bringing advice, giving your career wings. Oh yeah!
Jack really liked this one. Just last week, this was one of my favorites. Singer-songwriter Happy Hoffman had this song.
Happy Hoffman on the scene, bringing light and all her dreams. Indie tunes that make you sway. She's the sunshine in your day. On the Break the Business show, Happy's here to let you know. Sounds of joy and pure delight. Get ready for an awesome night.
Maybe we should start releasing albums. I didn't realize these were AI. A little disappointed, writes in Daniel Neruda. I mean, I wish we could have artists like record some of these. We don't have the budget for it. But I maybe we should like put out an album of these and we can raise money or something. Anyway, so I mean, it's pretty wild that the advancements that are being made here. But I think if we did not have the training material of the copyrighted work, I don't think Suno could do this kind of stuff. And so it's going to be interesting to see how these things kind of roll out. And let's brace ourselves. We're going to see some pretty crazy legal developments over the next few years. Let us take a break. We're going to have Ryan Wright joining us right after here on Break the Business. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan A. Kairalla, PA. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan A. Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Speaking of Creed, Zach, I thoroughly regret that my family obligations did not allow me to attend the Creed cruise that was going on a few months back. Creed actually had a cruise, and the whole theme of it was, hey, all those bands you loved in the 90s? They're all going to be on a boat together, and you're going to get to watch them. I think the lineup was nuts. It was like Creed, Three Doors Down, Seven Dust, Vertical Horizon, Veruca Salt. Producer Lauren, could you do us a favor? Look up the poster. You should be able to find it for the Creed cruise. I don't know. I think it was called like this Creed Summer of '99 cruise or something like that. I need you to find this lineup so just Zach and I can just reminisce about how amazing this voyage was.
I'm familiar. In fact, one of my all-time favorite bands, Buck Cherry, was on that cruise.
Oh my God, I forgot that Buck Cherry. Yes, it was a delightful voyage. I'm sorry I missed out. I should have gotten my sea legs for that one. So while producer Lauren is pulling that up, actually before producer Lauren pulls this up, because I think we'll need her production for this, let's go ahead and bring out our guest this week.
Riot rock in the sea, breaking the mold. Heart of a fire, the dreams untold. I'ma break the business show. She'll ignite with tales of fire, passion, and might.
Our guest this week is a Virginia-based singer-songwriter and producer who has been featured in Ones to Watch, Earmilk, and Notion. Her new EP, I Was Happy, featuring singles No One Loves You and Quarter Life Crisis, is available now. You can find out more by checking out her Instagram at Ryan Wright Music. We are happy to welcome Ryan Wright on To Break the Business. Hi, Ryan.
Hi, guys.
It is a pleasure to be chatting with you. I'm a big fan of the female version of the Ryan name. I think it is, it wears just as well for the ladies as it does for the gentlemen, in my humble opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. My parents
That
would
being
love to hear
said,
that.
I'm going to put my co-host Zach on blast here. I'm sorry for revealing this, but before the show, before Zach had a chance to look up your information, he thought that this week we were going to be interviewing the punter for the Minnesota Vikings, who also is named Ryan Wright. How often are you confused with this person?
Often, and it's actually a huge inside joke with my band and my team. I have the jersey. I wore it on stage at my last show, and my goal is to get Ryan Wright to be a Ryan Wright fan. Cause like I never got into football. I was never like my family, they're Cowboys fans and Chiefs fans, and I just like always kind of viewed from a distance. But like now I'm a Vikings fan because of this.
Just for the punting.
Oh yeah. I'll get like mixes back from my the guy who masters my songs, and he'll like put like funny photos as the what is it called? He'll make like they have like a photo, stock image photo that comes up, and he'll like go on my Instagram and screenshot things and like put it for the new mix that we get. And this past one was a photo of Ryan Wright from the Minnesota Vikings. So it's a huge thing.
How hard would it be to make him a fan of your music? I mean, is this just a matter of getting your fans to tag him on Instagram?
Yeah, I mean,
I should do that.
I've tried to DM him. He has his like settings turned off where you can't like accept DMs, or he has to like accept it on his own phone or something like that. But I've had people that are like, DM his wife, DM, and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm that crazy, but like,
yeah, that'll work out well.
We do have this genius idea to go on TikTok, because it's such a, TikTok driven world now, in the music industry, for me to go and play my music in the background and try and punt a football, which I can't do. So
that makes it better.
We'll see if that catches his attention.
I mean, you could do like one of those TikTok challenges where it's like, day one of getting Ryan Wright of the Minnesota Vikings to reply. Like day one of me punting footballs until Ryan Wright of the Minnesota Vikings replies to this.
Exactly. It can't be that hard. We got to do it. We got to find a way.
I think so. We need to make this happen. I mean, he's a punter. He shouldn't be so busy that he can't like check out your music. Like he's not digging into the playbook right now. He shouldn't be that busy in mini camp. Like, I'm not saying punting is easy, but it's not as hard as playing quarterback. Like, he's got time to get into your music.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what kind of music he likes, but I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna make it happen.
I hope so. Now, all right, two more important matters. I love the stories of musicians who have been immersed in music from as long as they can remember. And you're one of those kind of artists. For your whole life, you've just always been around music. you grew up in your dad's studio, right? And so you were just
Yep.
always like, I just imagine you like sitting on the floor, looking at the console, just music filling your ears all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that I read that your first song that you ever remember hearing was Jenny Was a Friend of Mine by The Killers. One of my favorite songs, by the way, off of one
Oh,
of my
yeah.
favorite albums ever. So you're really after my own heart there.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about what that was like, just growing up, just always having music around you, and how did that shape you?
Well, so I mean, my dad's a musician. He's an incredible musician, and he is also my producer. So he produces alongside me, and he helps make the whole Ryan Wright thing happen. So it's really cool to kind of keep that in my life. It keeps me grounded. But I mean, I was always in the studio whenever I go to his house. I would wander downstairs where the studio was, and he'd have sessions coming in and out and in and out, making music. And he always made his studios look so cool. Like he had records, he had pictures, he has tons of guitars that were just like all these beautiful colors. So it was like always just this wonderful, beautiful experience being around it. And he instilled in me from like the moment I could talk, like he would hold up a Beatles record and be like, you name each of these men and I'm going to switch it up and I'm going to make their hair different now. And you're going to have to figure out which is which. So like I've always been around it, but I didn't really come to terms with the fact that I wanted to do it full time as a career until right after or right at the beginning of the pandemic. I would sing on some things for him, and I kind of like wrote a whole album on the bus rides to volleyball games when I was a junior in high school, and I didn't tell him that. And then I came to the studio right when school was canceled and had nothing to do, and was like, "Hey, let's write an album because I have an album that I want to like finish and then put out." But yeah, just being around that. I also was raised, my family was kind of like this big, it was a group effort in raising me. My parents weren't together when I was a kid, so we were like this big blended family. And I was my grandma, my mom's mom and dad raised me a lot, and I spent a lot of time at their house where they would play me a bunch of like those, those like CD sets of 60s love songs that they have those like commercials on late at night where they're like, oh, the beautiful sounds of Neil Sedaka and Connie Francis.
Zach and I were raised on those commercials.
Yes.
I'm
My
familiar.
grandparents bought all of them. So so I grew up listening to that, and that heavily influenced my melodies. I'm very into the 50s melodies. I'm a huge fan of Roy Orbison. And then The Killers was kind of my mom's fault and also my aunt's fault, because my mom would be like, okay, one of my sisters is going to take you. You're going to run some errands while I do a little bit of work over here. And, they pawned me off to people in my family, as parents do. And I remember the moment I heard Jenny Was a Friend of Mine for the first time. And it was like my first real like moment of hearing sounds that I was like, oh, that's music. Like that's what I like.
Because
Mhm.
I think that's the first track off of Sam's Town, I want to say.
Hot Fuss.
Hot Fuss. Yeah, I always mix those two up.
Mhm.
Yeah, first it's the first track off of Hot Fuss, which I mean that whole album, there's no skips. Like
No
I mean,
skips.
just like everything there, like Change Your Mind and Mr. Brightside, just like oh my god,
Somebody told me.
somebody told me, just oh man,
Mm-hmm.
so
good.
so good. And yeah, it opens with Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, and those guitars come in, and
Mhm.
oh yeah,
It hits.
Yeah,
There's not a
it
record that sounds like Hot Fuss ever. Like there's no more. There's nothing that sounds like that, and there wasn't anything that sounded like that before that. And me and my dad have this like ongoing thing where we think that Mr. Brightside was the last greatest rock song ever created, because I mean there are great rock songs, but like nothing gets an entire room jumping, moving, like going absolutely crazy, losing their mind like Mr. Brightside does. When that comes on, everybody is like, oh my God, this song, love this song. Like it has that power And seeing it live, I've seen it live so many times because I'm a diehard Killers fan, obviously.
Yeah.
And Brandon Flowers is just he has such a way on stage. He commands the room and he owns the room, and like he is genuinely so happy to be on stage. Like you can just see it and you can feel it, and it is such an experience.
Let me ask you something about Brandon Flowers, since you sound like
yeah.
you're definitely way more of an aficionado than I am on this.
I have a tattoo.
How-
I have a Killers tattoo.
Whoa, that's so
Battle
rad.
Born.
Wait, can you bring that in a little bit closer to the camera, just so we can? Oh wow, that's so cool.
That's pretty dope.
So
It's Battleborn.
how does Brandon Flowers not age?
Oh my
Because
god.
I saw like a video of the Killers like from like probably like 6 months ago or whatever, and it
Oh, yeah.
looks like 3 of Brandon Flowers' uncles taking out their nephew Brandon Flowers for the day. Like that, he looks exactly the same as he did during Hot Fuzz. It is wild.
He's on my boyfriend list. We've got boyfriend lists in my family of like which celebrity, and it's Cillian Murphy and Brandon Flowers. They are my top 2 boyfriends. Brandon Flowers is my forever boyfriend, which is what me and my stepmom and my dad call like our nothing that they can do will make us not like them ever. And he's such a cool guy. And I have friends that in the industry, the head of my label knows him, and I'm like, he's great, he's awesome. Seeing him perform is amazing. He doesn't use in-ears, so he just uses the stage monitors, and he is, which is crazy, because when you're singing in those stadiums and at huge festivals like that, you get your head blown off by like sound, and he's such a powerful singer, and he's just awesome. He's so cool.
Oh, that makes me so happy. I'm so glad that he's a good person. Like I would hate to hear that he's problematic, and then that just ruins everything for me.
He's the bomb.
Okay, so we could go on and on about these Killers, but I do want to talk to you about your music. But before I do that, I have to ask you like one more silly set of questions, because I saw in my show research that apparently you can do impressions, and I would be committing malpractice as an interviewer and doing my audience a incredible disservice by not seeing if we could draw some impressions out of you. I mean, like, where do your impressions come from? Are these like celebrities, or are these musicians, like public figures?
Man. I can do some celebrities. I can do most of the Disney princesses.
Okay. Oh, all right.
I'm really good at Jennifer Coolidge.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, that's probably my best one to date is the Jenny Coolidge.
So we got Disney princesses, we got Jennifer Coolidge.
Barbie movie. Like if you watched, I watched Barbie movies growing up when I was little, so like that Barbie is the Barbie that I can do. The singing
First of all,
Barbie.
Okay, so yeah, like old cartoon Barbie. I'd like to hear some Jennifer Coolidge, please.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm only saying. Sorry, can you do that one again? Like, let's get in the clear.
What does she say? She says, "What's the line in Pretty in Pink?"
What's it? The hot dog thing?
Oh yeah. You look like a hot dog on the 4th of July. Makes you want a hot, or you look like the 4th of July. Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Whoa!
She's
Bravo, Ryan. Right, you got it down perfectly. Like the breathiness of it.
she's crazy. I love that woman.
Now, when you say you do impressions of Disney princesses, all right, this might be me sort of being like narrow-minded man. And so I admit that on the front end. But like when I think of the Disney princesses, at least like a lot of the ones from like when I was growing up, I don't really discern them having different voices. Like they're all just kind of like generic female voices. But you're telling me like these Disney princesses, like they are distinctive enough in their voices that you can kind of do different ones?
Most of them are. So there's like the earlier Disney princesses, the first few. Snow White obviously has a very distinct voice because she's super high pitch and like has this crazy goat vibrato. And then that's my favorite term, goat vibrato.
That's so good.
You know it, but
I know
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And then a lot of so those were in like the 30s to the 50s, which I mean, the 50s and the 40s, like the voices that people would have don't sound like people nowadays. It had this like weird transatlantic,
Yes.
affectation, both on their speaking voices and singing voices. But so a lot of the 50s princesses, like my favorite princess growing up was Cinderella. It's very flowy and 50s-y and, super vibrato-y and weird. And then um the 80s, 90s Disney princesses like Mulan, Jasmine, Ariel, which is one of my personal best, in my opinion, is very like theatrical,
All right, I got to get
kind of.
I got to get an Ariel. Like I have Ariel from Little Mermaid, the '90s Little Mermaid, like pretty good in my head. So I feel like if I heard it, I would know it right away.
Oh man. Oh, let me see. I gotta figure out the lyrics or which part of the song. Um, okay. I'm so nervous. I'm put on the spot. Okay. Because usually I just whip this out at karaoke when I've had a little bit too much to drink. It's like my go-to. And people are like, what is happening?
This is just for you, me, and Zach. Ignore the 33 million Sirius XM subscribers. All right, it's just a couple
Okay.
buddies.
All right. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world.
That's pretty good. That's good.
Outstanding.
Thank you.
Have you ever entertained the possibility of maybe getting a job at Disney and, like I feel like if we put like a red wig on you, you could probably play Ariel, like, around
Yeah.
the park or whatever.
My hair, 99% of the time, my hair is red. It's too much upkeep. So I haven't had it red in a minute. But I have, when I was in high school, because I found out I could do these impressions when I was in like early high school, when I was just messing around. My dad was like, you should dress up as Disney princesses and go to little kids' birthday parties. And I bet people would probably book you like crazy to sing Disney princess songs and pretend to be a Disney princess at birthday parties. And I don't know
Zach
why
might
I
pay you
never
right
did
now
that.
to do that for his kid.
If you can do Elsa, my daughter would love it.
Oh man, Elsa's one of those that I see. The newer Disney princesses are tricky. I haven't quite gotten them down. I gotta work on those, and I don't want to do that in front of people until I know I got it down. But yeah, I think that's. I mean,
I mean,
it's a weird, useless talent, but
useless. You have brought us so
Useless.
much joy. And what else is a purpose of life other than to bring people joy? Other things that we've known to, make people very happy is your music. You've been very accommodating, just being silly with us, but we do want to talk about how awesome your music is. Zach and I have really
Thank you.
enjoyed checking out some of your new singles like No One Loves You and Quarter Life Crisis. Can you talk to us a little bit about the message of Quarter Life Crisis? I think it's a pretty important one.
Oh man. Oh yes. So I've been going through a quarter life crisis for a while now. And it kind of came to be, I mean, cuz I'm at this weird age that no one really talks about how weird it is when you are like in your early 20s and you're not in school. Well, I'm not in college, but all my friends are in college, but even like it's from age like 18 to 25 where people are like, what am I doing with my life? And what is the point of me being what am I doing? And why haven't I figured it out by now? And I feel like I have to have it figured out by now because growing up in school, they're like, you need to have your life figured out as soon as you graduate college. And then I didn't go to college, so I'm also dealing with that. But I was
Well, then you don't have to have your life
going
figured out yet.
right, but or I have to have it figured out sooner.
Oh no.
But yeah, but I was going through this weird phase, and I have been going through it since I graduated high school because I'm an indie artist. I live at home. I mean, I tour when I tour. I play shows, and I I'm saving up until I move out. But so I'm in this like weird place where all my friends that I went to school with and my boyfriend and just people that I know who are my age are experiencing college and meeting new people and going out and having a good time. And I'm just like, I've got major FOMO and, just these confusing feelings. But then also, like, when I do go out, I'm like, this isn't fun anymore because it's legal. Like, I can now drink and have a good time without getting in trouble or using a fake ID. And it sucks because it's like there's no rebelliousness of it
Where's the
anymore.
thrill?
Yeah. And um I went into the studio one day and my tour manager, Ben, his name's Ben Sakopoulos, he wrote it with me and my dad and we were just kind of messing around. He wanted to write a song and I was like, I really feel like I've been going through a quarter life crisis. And he was like, well, there's our title. Let's write a song about how weird it is to be our age. And yeah, I just kind of like the lyric, there's a lyric in there about like, I don't want to pay my taxes. I had to experience paying taxes, like really paying taxes for the first time this year. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not a pleasant
not a,
experience as a musician
no,
because like it's not just like, oh, here's my W-2, I'm done. It's like, oh, look at all these stupid expenses and these,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
1099s I'm getting. This is a
Yeah.
pain in the ass.
Yes, correct. But yeah, we just wanted to write this like fun, punky, like reckless sounding track that like people of that age group or people who even aren't in that age group can look back on and remember like, oh yeah, that was a weird time for me. And like this song is relatable in that sense. And it's kind of like, I mean, like it's a comforting but like not comforting song because there isn't really an answer to like anybody's problems in it. It's just like, here are my problems. And oh my God, I'm having a quarter life crisis. I'm gonna freak out. But that's kind of the meaning behind it. It's just this huge, depressing, crazy, psychotic episode of being a 21-year-old female or whoever you are
Yeah.
at that age.
Well, and
But,
I kind of want to follow
yeah.
up. Can I ask you a question about songwriting? Because I was doing some
Yeah.
research on you, and you just said something that I want to get your take on. You said that your
Cool.
co-writer says, "Oh, that's what we're writing about." To
Mhm.
you, how much of songwriting is waiting to get inspired versus it's time to get to work?
Interesting. I've never thought of it that way. I kind of well, while I've been going through my quarter life crisis this past year specifically, I've been very uninspired and felt kind of like I was in this hole where I couldn't, dig myself out of it and figure out what I wanted to write about. And I was I mean, and I like to collaborate, but I also love writing stuff on my own. So I've been doing a lot more collaboration where, which has helped me get out of that. But like, I've I've kind of I kind of just go with whatever pops into my head at the given time. Like I am such a like singing shower person, so I'll sing in the shower and while I'm shampooing my hair, I'm like, "Oh, here's my idea. I'm going to hop out of the shower, record it into my phone, hop back in, finish shampooing my hair." Um but I I think of it more of like a less rigid situation. Like it's kind of like, I mean, I'll go into the studio and sometimes write with people and I'm like, there's not a vibe here. We could just mess around, get to know each other, hang out, and then see what comes out. And, it's, but for me, it's more of like there isn't really a formula to it. It's very loose kind of how it comes out and creatively, but it's definitely more of like, I like to be a little bit more of the creative side than like, okay, we have to write a song right now.
Our,
Yeah.
our guest has been singer-songwriter Ryan Wright. Her new EP, I Was Happy, featuring singles No One Loves You and Quarter Life Crisis, is available now. Check out her Instagram at Ryan Wright Music. Ryan, this has been awesome. Thank you for equal parts tolerating our silliness, but also giving us some really great advice and allowing us to get to know you and your music better.
Yeah.
This has been a blast. Before we let you go, we got one last question for
Okay.
you. Do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to help them move their careers forward?
Oh man, definitely surround yourself with good people. That has been I mean, I've grown up in the industry, around people in the industry. My dad has been through so many weird experiences, and you are so much better off if you are surrounding yourself with a good group of people, good band members, a good team, people who are supporting you, your family, your friends, and cut out all the bad. Like you don't need that. The only way that you will propel and feel good about getting your stuff out there is if you have people that support you and believe in you. So stay grounded, keep the good people there.
This has been such a blast, Ryan. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Don't be a stranger,
you.
okay? We'd love to have you on again real
Yeah.
soon. Lauren, before we close out this week, could you put up the poster of the Creed concert, Summer of 99 cruise? Oh my God, yes. See, look at this. It's better than I thought, Zach. 3 Doors Down, Creed, Buck Cherry, Tonic, Vertical Horizon, Fuel, The Verb Pipe, Tantric, Dishwalla. Oh my God, counting blue cards. Yeah. Veruca Salt, 9 days. I mean, and they're all on one boat together. And there's probably a buffet. I'm so upset I missed this. This must have been an absolute blast.
Hosted by Eddie Trunk.
Oh,
I love it.
Oh, see now, and Creed's back, baby, and the world needs them now more than ever. Our thanks to you, Zach Sloan, our guest Ryan Wright, and producer Lauren, and thanks to all of you viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.
Break